Welcome back! And once again, congratulations on finishing this course and creating your very own custom WordPress site. In this bonus section, we're going to take your site to the next level by talking about 4 topics that every web developer should at least be familiar with, and thanks to the vast WordPress plugin ecosystem, are easy to implement on your WordPress site. The first thing we'll do is talk about site optimization, and we'll use a plugin called Autoptimize to make our site load even faster. Then, we'll set up an automatic backup system so fixing our site is just a click away should something go wrong. After that, we'll supercharge our site security to protect against attacks and unauthorized logins by adding two-factor authentication, a firewall, and malware protection. Finally, we'll configure some basic SEO or search engine optimization for our site so we can generate more traffic to our site from search engines like Google. So go ahead and log into your WordPress site and we'll get started in the next video. See you then. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn about optimizing our website to make it faster for all of our visitors, and how a particular plugin called Autoptimize can help us do this in just a few easy steps. When you visit a website, have you ever wondered what's really happening behind the scenes while the website loads? Well, when you visit a site, what's actually happening is that your browser is downloading all of the code, images, and other media contained on the server and preparing to display it on your screen. As we talked about in the section on how the internet works, this can involve quite a few steps. The browser needs to download the HTML of the site to understand the structure of it, needs to download the CSS to know how the site is supposed to look visually, the layout, the color, the fonts and sizes, and it needs to download all the JavaScript or other programming language files to understand how the site is supposed to respond to user interactions. These things all take time, and it's actually pretty amazing how fast it happens for most sites. What slows a site down, though, is often the images contained on the site. The file size of a normal image is exponentially bigger than the size of an HTML file, for example. This is why some sites can take a long time to load. To get an idea of how this actually works, let's open up a new browser tab and go to a site called gtmetrics.com. Here, we can run a test of our site or any other site to see how it's performing. Let's see how our site is doing. We'll hit Test Your Site and wait for it to run the test. And here we go. So our site is already doing pretty great. We have a page speed score of 95% and a Y-slow score of 87. These are two different benchmark tests for a page. Over here, what's interesting is our page details say that it takes just over 4 seconds for our page to load. We're downloading about 2.6 megabytes of content, and we're making 60 requests to the server for different files and media items. So again, that's not bad. But let's see what optimizing our site would do. Let's go back to our WordPress dashboard. Luckily, there are many tools available to help us optimize our site. And as we know, in WordPress, there are tons of plugins for virtually every application, and that includes site optimization. So let's go to our plugins library, click Add New, and let's look for a plugin called Autoptimize. Autoptimize is a simple and easy to use but very powerful optimization plugin that allows us to consolidate our code for faster downloading and also compress our images to make them a fraction of their current size without degrading the quality. And the best part is, there's hardly anything to configure. So here we see the Autoptimize plugin with over 1 million active installs. It's compatible with our version of WordPress, so let's click Install Now. Let's activate the plugin, and that turns on the Autoptimize plugin in our site. We'll see it added to the menu bar up here, and over here under Settings. Let's go to the Autoptimize settings. So as I mentioned before, there's two general ways to optimize your site. One is to optimize the files that are being downloaded, and one is to optimize the images. Autoptimize allows us to easily do just that. Let's start here on the JS, CSS, and HTML tab. We'll check Optimize JavaScript code, and then there's a bunch of options that become available. We'll leave them set to their defaults and come down and do the same with CSS and HTML. Again, if you want to research this plugin more in depth, you can see what the rest of these settings mean and adjust them as you need, but we'll leave the defaults for now. Let's go over to the Images tab, and let's click Optimize Images. So what this does is automatically optimize our images and cache them, meaning store them in a high-speed server ready to display on a user's device much quicker than if that browser had to download all the images from our server. Let's click Save Changes. And that's it. We've set up Auto-Optimize to optimize our site. Let's go back over to GT Metrics and see if this made a difference. We'll click here to go back to the home page, and let's try a test again. And there we go, even better. Now we started with a great score, but with Auto-Optimize, we now have a page speed score and a YSlow score above 90%. What's especially interesting is our page details. Our page load time has been cut by over half of a second, the size being downloaded has gone down, and our requests have gone down to 29. That all means visitors will load our site even faster. Let's head back to the dashboard. And that's it. We've configured Auto-Optimize to work with our code files and our images to optimize our site. Now, if you make any significant changes to your site, especially involving the images or new pages and lots of content changed on existing pages, sometimes it's a good idea to come up here and delete our cache. And that's it. Now you know how to use an optimization plugin to improve the performance of your site. See you soon. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to install and set up one of the most popular plugins for doing something every web designer should make a habit: backing up their website. Backing up your site is literally one of the smallest things you can do that can have the biggest impact. Imagine something going wrong with your site. You download a new plugin or theme to try out, and everything crashes. Or maybe you want to try out some changes to your web design, and after you do them, you realize they don't really work the way you imagined. But now you're forced to redesign everything again from scratch. Now imagine being able to log into your site and literally going back in time to before you made those changes and restoring your site to that point with a single click. That's what backing up is all about. As I've said many times, there are thousands and thousands of plugins for WordPress, and that includes backup plugins. There are tons of those too, but in this video, we're going to download one of the most popular and my personal favorite, Updraft. Let's get started by going to the plugin library and searching for Updraft. So we'll come over to Plugins, Add New, and search for Updraft. And here it is. With over 3 million active installs, it's compatible with our version of WordPress. Let's go ahead and install it now. Once it's installed, click Activate. Alright, like most plugins, we now have an Updraft Plus menu in the top bar, as well as under our settings. We can also press the alert here to get started setting up this plugin. Like most plugins, Updraft is filled with incredible features, so many that we could build a mini course just on this one plugin. But for this video, we're going to stick to the basics and just configure it to back up our site regularly so we can have some peace of mind, and that if anything crazy happens to our site, a backup is just a few clicks away. So we'll get started by clicking Settings. Here, we can close this prompt and set up the backup schedule we'd like to use for our plugin. Again, as we've talked about before, WordPress is kind of divided into two parts: our database and our files. We can back these up separately or together in Updraft and have a different schedule for each one. Right now it's set to manually back up, which means we have to click to make it back up. Let's change this to back up every week, both the files and the database. Now, we can also set how many backups we want to store on the server. We definitely don't want to store too many because they'll take up a lot of space. Let's leave it at 2. Finally, we can choose where we want the backups to be stored. By default, the backups will remain on our server with our WordPress website. Now this is okay unless something goes wrong with our server, in which case our backups are lost too, and we're in some real trouble. I'd recommend linking this to a Dropbox account or a Google Drive account to start, and then you know you have backups that are safely separated from your website. For this demonstration, we'll just keep it as is. Now we can also scroll down and tell Updraft what we actually want to back up each time. I'm going to leave this set at the default, which is back up everything. The plugins, the themes, any files we've uploaded, and the only things it will ignore are things it creates itself, like other backups or snapshots or clones of the site. Now that we have this set up, let's scroll down to the bottom and click Save Changes. Now we'll go to Backup and Restore. And let's go ahead and click Backup Now to make our first backup of our site. Now that we're performing a manual backup, at least this first time, let's leave this checked to back up our database and our files. Let's click Backup Now to get it started. Now after this backup completes, we won't need to do this manually anymore, as it will do it every 2 weeks. And our backup's finished. Now, should something go wrong, we can come right down here and look at our backup. We've backed up everything we have on our site. We simply click Restore. Here we can choose which different components we want to restore, like our database. We'll click Next, and then it'll go access those files. Finally, we'll click Restore to start the restore. Since we have nothing to restore right now, I'm going to click Cancel to go back to the dashboard. And that's it. Now you can sleep a little easier at night, knowing that if anything happens to your site, you can restore it quickly and easily. If you have a more complicated site, or a collection of sites, be sure to check out the premium features of Updraft. And that's it. Hope to see you soon. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to take the security of our WordPress website to the next level by installing one of the world's most advanced WordPress security plugins. As I've mentioned before in the course, if there's any real criticism of WordPress, it pertains to site security. We know that to log into a WordPress website, we simply add /wplogin.php to the end of our URL. Well, this makes it quite easy for a hacker, whether human or robot, to find out if our site is on WordPress and to begin trying to hack into it. For small sites, this isn't a real big issue, but we do want our site to be secure, and in the ever-evolving world of cybersecurity, it would sure be nice to be in control of who accesses our site and when, as well as prevent these random cyber attacks that happen to so many sites, not just WordPress sites. This is where one of my favorite site security plugins comes in. Let's install it now. Let's go to the Plugins library, click Add New, and search for WordFence. And here it is right here, with over 3 million active installations. It's compatible with our current version of WordPress, so let's install it now. Once it's installed, click Activate. Alright, now WordFence sends you alerts when people are trying to log into your site that might not be authorized, and also sends updates regarding the security of your site in general. So go ahead and put in an email address here. And we can say no to the mailing list. Let's check the box to agree to the terms and privacy policy, and click Continue. Now WordFence has an incredible premium license, but for this video, we're going to stick with the free version, so just click No Thanks. Alright, and now we have WordFence installed on our site. You can see a new WordFence icon in the left navigation menu. Let's click Dashboard to go to the WordFence dashboard. You can take this tour if you'd like. We're going to close it out here. And this is the WordFence dashboard. This is where you can check briefly on the security of your site and see what's been going on lately. Over time, you'll watch this notifications window to see if anyone's been trying to log in without authorization. Now, we won't go through every feature of WordFence now, but we'll quickly go through this list here in the menu to see what each thing is about. So WordFence comes with a firewall feature, so let's click that. Now, a firewall prevents our site from attackers by understanding how we use our site and comparing it to other activity it sees attempting to use our site. Now, the WordFence firewall is pretty advanced and comes with an awesome feature called Learning Mode, which is set up automatically. So we'll leave that on now, and it says here that until October 31st, the firewall will be in Learning Mode. Here it says this allows WordFence to learn about our site so we can understand how to protect it and how to allow normal visitors through the firewall. So we'll leave that set up as is. If you'd like to customize, again, there are tons of features here that you can adjust. The next thing we can do in WordFence is scan our site. We can come here to the scan, and WordFence will scan every file of our website to make sure there's no malware or other code that someone has put on our site that would try to compromise the security of our site. I'd recommend starting a new scan and letting it run through your site to see if there's any problems. If there are, WordFence will give you some directions down here on how to resolve those issues. The next thing we can access are the tools in WordFence. These tools allow us to look at the traffic on our site, including user logins, hacked attempts, and requests that were blocked by the firewall. Now, probably the biggest feature of WordFence is the next thing in the list, login security. Let's click that. So login security is extremely important in WordPress. WordFence includes what we know as two-factor authentication, meaning that your password is not enough to get into the site. This is a huge deterrent to hackers and bots. Even if they guess your password, they can't get in the site without knowing another authorization code. You can set that up here by using your smartphone with a QR code, and then using these recovery codes or the code generated by an authenticator app on your phone. This is pretty awesome, and I'd highly recommend adding this to your site's security. It's one extra step, but every time I log into a WordPress site and pull out my phone for an authentication code, I know that my site is secure. Finally, we can come to the options, and this is where we can set our email alert preferences and other notification options. You may want to look at the email alert preferences and just make sure that this is when you want to get emailed. Some of these might be a little too much for you, and you might want to add some more. All right, and that's WordFence. Again, securing your site could be a course all of its own, but thanks to WordFence and the quick setup we just did, your site is already more secure than most other sites out there. Be sure to check out the premium features of WordFence if your site seems particularly vulnerable to attacks, or you are in an industry that requires a heightened level of security for your site. I hope you feel great knowing that your WordPress site is super secure. See you soon. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn the very basics of search engine optimization, or SEO for short, and install the world's leading SEO plugin for WordPress to help us out. Search engine optimization is the process of optimizing your site to increase the quality and quantity of web traffic it receives from search engines like Google. SEO is not paid advertising. It's simply ensuring your website is set up to show up on search engines and is optimized to rank as high as possible in those search listings. To help you get started with SEO, let's download a plugin. We'll go to our plugins library, click Add New, and search for the plugin called Yoast. Here it is. You can see Yoast is the #1 SEO plugin on WordPress with over 5 million active installations. Let's click Install Now. Now let's click Activate. Yoast is by far the most popular SEO plugin, and it contains countless features and services in both its free and premium versions to help you generate more traffic for your site. Let's go to the SEO icon that was added to our menu and click General. In this video, we're only going to cover the two absolute most basic steps you should take to get your site looking good when it shows up on a search engine. The first thing you should do in Yoast is walk through their configuration wizard. You can access it by clicking here. So here we'll walk through these 9 steps together. The first is to let Yoast know if your site is live and ready to be indexed by search engines, or if it's under construction. Since we're live, we'll click option A, then click Next. What type of site do we represent? Your site might be different, but we represent a small offline business. Here's the most important step. This is where you'll provide information that will be used in Google's Knowledge Graph card. That's the big block of information on the right of the Google window when you search. So we'll fill this out quickly. We can choose a logo right from our media library. We'll pick our logo. And here, you can put a URL to all your different social platforms. Once you fill those out, click Next. Here's a few options related to search engine visibility, which allow us to choose which type of content from our site we want shown on search engines. We'll keep Yes selected under Posts and Pages, but change it to No for templates. We don't want our templates showing up as items on Google searches. Here we can select if our site has multiple authors. Ours doesn't, so we'll leave it selected No. And here we can select the title settings, which is what we want the title to look like in a search engine search result. We'll keep the name of our company, and then we'll add this vertical bar afterwards, which will separate the name of our company from the specific page on the site that shows up in the search results. Here we can let Yoast collect information from our website anonymously to use it, or we can click No. We'll leave it set to No. Finally, we'll see some links to some online resources Yoast provides to help you grow in your knowledge of SEO and further optimize your site. We'll scroll down to the bottom and click Next, and we're done. Let's close out of this wizard. All right, now that we've configured Yoast, there's one more thing you can and should do on each of your pages to customize and optimize your site for SEO. Let's open up our pages, and we'll just go to this first one, the About page, and click Edit. In the WordPress Edit window on each page, if you scroll down, you'll see the Yoast SEO section has been added. Here, you can do a lot of cool things, including see the results of Yoast's analysis of your page, and set some SEO settings to help you out. For example, you can set a focus key phrase here. A focus key phrase is the search phrase that you want to show up under on Google. This is the phrase that you think most people will type when searching for something similar to your site. You can also customize the meta description of your site. As you type, you'll see what it looks like on Google when someone searches for your site. You can also see some recommendations from Yoast on things you can do to further optimize your site. Finally, under Advanced, you can even turn off if you want this page even displaying in a search engine result. You should always have this on Yes, unless it's a page of your site that is for internal use only. I would definitely recommend taking the time to at least set your focus keyword and your meta description for each page of your site. Then, depending on the kind of site you have, you may want to invest in some of the premium features of Yoast and check out their website, where you'll find tons of articles and how-tos for optimizing your site to generate more traffic. And that's it. You now have a basic SEO solution up and running on your website. See you soon.